Hey there, Goa fans. Mark DJ Solitaire here with episode 49 of Retro Goa Explorations, my weekly series in which I present in every episode one of my favorite tracks from the 1990s Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement. We are probably nearing the end of my 95, 96 selections from roughly September 95 through to the summer of 96. It's just been kind of working out that about half of the year of episodes, about 25, 26 episodes focused on each year. We'll see how this continues. So we're approaching our 1 year anniversary of this series. And it's going to get a little bit hard actually with choosing uh, all of the top tracks from every year. There's more than 25 great tracks in every season. And so anyway, we'll see how this program evolves, but I'm really delighted as this is the last episode of 2023, and we started up in January 2023. Um, we're uh, we're plugging away over here and fueling on, which is actually pretty much the title of the track that we're looking at today. Beautiful track from this tip compilation that came out in early 1996. Those of you who have commented on my memory will possibly be surprised that when I looked up the release date just now, I was surprised to find it was February 96 because I actually thought it was a few months later. But we're looking at Kox Box Fuel On. So Kox Box at this time was still the three members of Frankie Madsen, Ian Ion, and Peter Candy. Peter, who left the group at some point as well, but they did perform. The three members performed the summer after this. So it was summer of 96 at Burning Man, back when Burning Man was a very small thing. But it was the three members. And goodness me, this track is really something. So remember that the album, first Kox Box album, which is really one of the very first artist albums in this scene. We can look at it in sequence really as Juno Reactor's Transmissions, then Kox Box Forever After on Heart House, and then Hallucinogen Twisted. Pretty much that's the order that I recall. I think Total Eclipse on Blue Room came out after that. Those were all in 95. But here we are in February 96, and we've got Kox Box Fuel on tip. Now, by the autumn of 96, uh, the tracks that they produced on tip would be under the name Psychopod. And this is similar to what we were looking at last time and at other times where projects who were signed exclusively to a certain label would release on other labels under different project names. So we had Prana as Tayo as early as 94. And then we have Pleiadians for Etnica. And here, Kox Box would, like Etnica, be signed to Blue Room and release some brilliant, brilliant stuff there. So starting in the compilation after this, we have Kox Box appearing under the name Psychopod. Some amazing stuff there. But right now, we're going to look at this amazing beauty. Now, this is another one where it was Geo, the ambient master, who still knew and loved great kicking music, who told me that I had to run, not walk, to the Cisco techno shop in Shibuya in Tokyo to get this new tip compilation. So the previous one had just come out in October of 95, and then this one would have been early, it's apparently according to Discogs, February 96. Now, I thought I had just come back from a trip, and it was similar to when I came back from India, and Geo told me to get a first flight. So it might have been that I came back from a trip in Thailand. I used to have occasional holidays there. So in any case, I remember him going on about a few tracks on here. And again, I don't know how I'm gonna wrap up this season in the next three episodes when there's so many great ones here. But I needed to include Kox Box, and I needed to include this track because it really was a major, major track for quite a while. Really fantastic energy, musical content, and that unbelievable Kox Box creativity. So I don't really know what else to say about this before we start listening. There's going to be plenty to say while we're listening because there is a whole lot going on in terms of the musical content, in terms of the fantastic, creative, meandering storyline that is just so different from the really boxed in structures that we tend to find with the music nowadays. So how about we just get started and listen to Kox Box's masterpiece, Fuel On. Beautiful opening with all these undulating sort of things over here and these textured whooshes. This build up here now. This really bouncy, buoyant bass and kick. It's that bouncing, energizing bass line. And then a beautiful jump. That octave jump that I think Stimuli was the first one to do that. Now it's really a thing here. And that textured whoosh going while there's this incredibly catchy riff. What a riff. And the kick. Super uplifting, really like carnival music from another dimension. I love the way that riff has a part that goes up and then it comes down. It goes up, does a little thing. And the kick comes again and then it really is beautifully done. What a break. And I mean really otherworldly. And then just all these textures, really wild and wacky harmonies and riffs. Goes up an octave there. Get a little bit atonal here. Those are some sounds we're going to hear in later Kox Box productions in a big way. Listen to this bounce. Just wait. Seems to get a bit closer. And then this little key change, and we're in this whole other environment now. Completely different setting. But you still have that bounce going on. And then that slide here. And then we come back to this. Love what they do with those drums all the time. And you know how some of these riffs continue while all this other stuff changes to give it a different perspective. Just the wacky harmony and otherworldly sounds. And now we're going to get this beautiful, beautiful part here. And it's very faint here, and the next round it's going to be a little more pronounced, but just that kind of one note. Now it's going to be more audible. So you get that sort of one-note expression while there's all this other wacky stuff going on. Just this amazing build-up, and then we have some different instrumentation here to this sound this riff, rather, that we've heard before. Comes in on another register there. Just that repetition completely zones you out. How many times have you been through this? There's that whoosh, really textured slide. How much is going on? There's that one note thing. While the stuff just continues. Getting the kick. That octave lead. Really such a buoyant, uplifting atmosphere with the sounds that are chosen and the upward sort of rhythmic bounce, but there's still so much completely otherworldly, broody, wild stuff going on. Now we've got something completely different. And this is what's going to start coming, right, a year or so later with Stratosphere and Stratosphereless and other really completely out there music that Kox Box would be producing. It's just a little taste of that darker language here, and then I'm just playing with all these notes in the chord. A great broken up rhythm. Now it gets doubled up, so we have it happening on an octave with two different instruments. I mean, really, if this is played at the right time, it can become, as I see, as a really great morning track where it's really celebratory and otherworldly, like woken up in this other dimension. Great at nighttime too, but again, it's that cosmic carnival kind of vibe here that's really interesting. Those wacky zaps happening. Now we get a very interesting riff here. We get almost jazzy kind of riff happening here. Listen to the upper voice and that lower one interplay. Oh, there's that textured whoosh happening. Now that comes in on another octave. Another octave again. Now things start pulling away. Whoosh. Okay, that was like one of the hardest ones to speak during because there are so many different things happening simultaneously, and it's like kind of impossible without stopping the music and pointing out all of the different things that are going on. I mean, just the level of complexity here is off the charts. The number of different riffs, what they're doing harmonically, texturally, in terms of the mood. It's really astounding. Again, it's kind of interesting. We're hearing, looking and listening back, knowing what's coming, knowing the language of Psychopod, and in a sense, Psychopod and Dreampod that would show up on the phosphorescent compilation after this one, knowing what's coming with Too Pure, but especially with Stratosphere and Stratosphereless on Blue Room, those productions, and we're starting to hear some of the seeds of some of those different linguistic, musically linguistic expressions that Kox Box would bring. What's interesting here, I think, compared to the first album, is the sonic framework is a little more granular. Like it's not as polished in the sense of the sonorities aren't as glass-like or crystalline, but there's a little bit of a sort of a throaty, gnarly edge to it. But the engineering is still like off the charts. So it's this really interesting balance, similar to some of what we heard with Infinity Project tracks, where there would be this sort of gnarly, edgy kind of thing, but the actual engineering is really incredibly refined and musically as well. It's not just simple, one or two note melodies or chords. I mean, there's some major complexity going on, and major and minor. There's some of the intervals that's going on there. We have a perfect fifth that's in there, but also again, minor second, minor third, and there's all kinds of bouncing around that's going on. The way that riff sort of goes up and then goes down, so it's like its own call and answer. That sort of like snake-like rhythmic thing that's going on, or sort of sliding through. The way the upper percussion will sort of lead to all these build-ups. um, Incredible meandering storyline of just next level complexity, and it all somehow pulls together. Um, just a major, major masterpiece. Um, and it was a major track at the time, definitely. And Blue Room was working on releasing the Kox Box Live that took place that summer in 96. And I remember meeting someone in 97 who was working on the project. And he said that Fuel On was kind of like the anthem for the project, which unfortunately never happened. I think it was about, if I recall, about 20 test pressings were made. And then for whatever reason, it wasn't released. Uh, I got a DAT copy from a really good source. It's fantastic stuff. I think there's bits and bobs of it that have come out. And there's video of it, and you can see there's a whole like 5 or 10 people there. I mean, it's just kind of these things that were legendary, and then how they looked at the time might have looked a little less legendary. But it was legendary. It was groundbreaking that these guys showed up in the desert with these synthesizers and uh, did this live set, and that they produced this unbelievable music. So if this was released in February 96, this means this was produced at some point in 95. Um, Music really, it's so beyond really a lot of what's coming out nowadays when you listen to the mainstream. Just absolutely masterful music making from Frankie, Ian, and Ian, from Frankie, Ian, and Peter. Those of you who are following retro stuff may have seen the announcement that's happened in the last little while that Frankie and Ian will be joining forces for a Kox Box and Psychopod live at ZNA in the summer of 2024. Um, they've got all the original computerized data and are going to be reworking everything, and it's going to be something. I had two unbelievable musical minds. We will be exploring some of Ian's other work with the Overlords in the future as well. So that was a bit of a meandering meandering presentation that goes with that incredible meandering track as well. So I will sign off here and leave you with the whole track. I am Mark DJ Solitaire, wrapping up episode 49 of Retro Goa Explorations and leaving you now with Kox Box's eternal masterpiece, Fuel On.